Right before life changes in a big way, it usually feels like it's doing the exact opposite. Instead of progress, you feel pressure. Instead of clarity, you feel stuck. Instead of excitement, you feel tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. And what makes it worse is that nothing looks wrong on the outside, but on the inside something feels off, like you're standing at a door that hasn't opened yet, and you can't tell if you should knock, walk away, or just wait. This is the moment when people start doubting themselves, doubting their choices, even doubting their future, because when effort doesn't immediately turn into results, the mind starts telling dangerous stories. But what if this phase isn't a sign you're falling behind? What if it's the last quiet stretch before momentum returns, and the signals are already around you, even if you haven't noticed them yet? Because right before something meaningful shows up, your life usually starts removing things that no longer fit, and that removal never feels gentle. It feels confusing. It feels inconvenient. It feels like things are slipping instead of lining up. And that's why so many people misread this stage and quit too early, change direction too fast, or go back to habits they already outgrew. But if you know what to look for, you'll realize this phase isn't random at all. It follows a pattern. And once you see that pattern, you stop panicking and start positioning yourself for what's next. One of the first things that happens is that your old sources of comfort stop working the way they used to. The same conversations feel repetitive. The same routines feel empty. The same goals that once pushed you forward now feel strangely unmotivating. And that can be scary, because comfort is where the brain feels safe, even when comfort is also what keeps you stuck. You might start thinking something is wrong with you, like you've lost your drive or your excitement. But what's really happening is that your internal standards are shifting. You're not entertained by survival mode anymore. You want progress that actually means something. And when that shift happens, boredom isn't a problem, it's a signal. It's telling you that you're done with the level you're on, even if the next level hasn't fully revealed itself yet. And what usually comes after this stage surprises most people. Then pressure starts showing up in small, annoying ways. Delays, mixed signals, plans that don't go as expected, people canceling, opportunities that almost happened but not quite. And it feels personal, like life is testing your patience on purpose. But this stage isn't about punishment, it's about refinement. Because pressure exposes patterns. It shows you where you still react emotionally, where you still rush decisions, where you still give energy to things that don't deserve it. And the strange part is, once you stop reacting and start responding instead, the pressure doesn't disappear. It transforms into clarity. You begin seeing what actually matters and what was just noise. But that clarity comes with a cost, and that cost is letting go of things you thought you needed, which leads into the next shift that almost no one is prepared for. At some point, certain people start drifting out of your life, not always through drama, sometimes just through silence. Messages slow down, invitations stop, conversations feel forced, and you start wondering if you changed too much or if you did something wrong. But growth doesn't always announce itself with loud endings. Sometimes it simply creates distance because your priorities no longer match the environment you were in. This isn't about becoming better than anyone. It's about becoming more focused, and focus naturally reduces distractions. Still, this phase can feel lonely because human beings are wired for connection, even when that connection is no longer helping them move forward. And if you stay long enough in this quiet gap, something else begins to happen that most people don't talk about. Your mind starts replaying old doubts, old failures, old mistakes, almost like it's testing whether you still identify with them. You'll suddenly remember things you thought you moved past. You'll question whether you're actually capable of more, or if you were just being hopeful. And this mental replay can feel exhausting, because you've already worked on yourself, you've already grown, so why is this coming back now? But this stage isn't about dragging you backward. It's about checking whether those old stories still control your decisions, because the next phase of your life can't be built on outdated beliefs about who you are. And once you notice that those thoughts don't have the same emotional power anymore, you realize you're not where you used to be, even if your external situation hasn't caught up yet. Then there's the strange urge to simplify your life. You start cleaning, organizing, deleting, decluttering, saying no to things you once said yes to. You protect your time more. You don't feel like explaining yourself as much. You start craving peace more than excitement. And it might feel like you're becoming less ambitious, but in reality, you're becoming more selective. Your energy is becoming more valuable to you. You don't want to waste it on chaos, drama, or constant urgency. And this shift is important because clarity needs space. Growth needs room to breathe. But this quieter, simpler phase is also when many people think nothing big is coming, because big changes are usually imagined as loud and dramatic, when in reality they often arrive after things get calm. Another sign shows up in your instincts. You start trusting your own judgment more, even when others don't understand your choices. You stop needing constant validation. You feel more comfortable walking away from situations that don't sit right with you, even if you can't fully explain why. And this can feel risky, because certainty doesn't always come with proof at this stage. Sometimes it only comes with a quiet inner sense that you shouldn't ignore anymore. And the moment you start honoring that sense, your path begins to narrow. Fewer distractions, fewer options, more alignment. Which sounds good, until you realize that narrowing also means you can't hide behind confusion anymore. You may also notice that you're more sensitive to how your body feels. Tired in a deeper way, more aware of stress, more affected by environments that drain you. And this isn't weakness, it's awareness. Your system is becoming more honest with you. It's telling you when something isn't sustainable, when something is costing you more than it's giving back. And while that awareness can feel uncomfortable, it's also what keeps you from repeating cycles that already taught you their lesson. But listening to your body usually requires making choices that your old habits wouldn't agree with. And that's where real change starts to feel real. And then comes the most confusing part. You start feeling ready, but nothing has arrived yet. You've done the work. You've changed your mindset. You've improved your habits. You've let go of what was holding you back, and still you're waiting. This is where frustration peaks, because effort without immediate reward feels unfair. But readiness doesn't always mean arrival. Sometimes it means positioning. Sometimes it means stability. Sometimes it means proving to yourself that you won't collapse emotionally when things finally move fast. Because once momentum starts, it rarely slows down for comfort. And the pressure of opportunity can be just as intense as the pressure of struggle. Which is why this quiet preparation stage matters more than people realize. Right before momentum returns, life often tests your patience one last time. Something small goes wrong. A delay, a misunderstanding, a minor setback. And the question becomes, will you react like the old version of you or respond like the person you've been becoming? This moment doesn't look important when it happens, but it shapes what comes next. Because how you handle small stress often predicts how you'll handle big responsibility. And responsibility always arrives with opportunity. The two never come separately. But most people only want the reward, not the weight that comes with it. And here's the part that almost feels unfair. Sometimes the biggest shift happens quietly. No announcement. No dramatic moment. Just a conversation, a decision, a message, a chance encounter that changes direction. And if you're not mentally ready, you might overlook it. You might doubt it. You might hesitate. That's why this phase is so focused on sharpening your awareness, teaching you to trust timing, trust instinct, trust preparation. Because opportunity doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it whispers, and when that shift finally starts, it often moves faster than expected. Suddenly things that were stuck begin flowing. Doors that felt closed start opening. People who once ignored you start paying attention. Ideas that felt unclear suddenly make sense. And it can feel overwhelming if you're not grounded. Which is why this quiet, uncomfortable, uncertain phase was necessary. It was teaching you patience. It was strengthening your boundaries. It was aligning your focus so that when momentum returns, you don't self-destruct from excitement or fear. If you're in that phase right now where things feel quiet, heavy, uncertain, and strangely uncomfortable, don't rush to label it as failure. It might be the transition you didn't expect but actually needed. The stage where distractions fall away, old patterns lose power and your attention sharpens. The stage that feels like waiting, but is really about becoming stable enough to handle what's next, without losing yourself in the process. So the next step isn't forcing results, it's staying ready. Protecting your focus, trusting the growth you've already earned, and paying attention to small opportunities instead of waiting for a dramatic moment that announces change. Because sometimes the shift doesn't arrive as a big event, it arrives as a decision you're finally strong enough to make. And if this connected with you, if it felt like it described exactly where you are right now, thank you for staying with me until the end. That tells me you're serious about your growth and your future. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel and stay close. Because this journey you're on is just getting started, and what's coming next may require the strongest version of you yet.